Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about this here and a little bit about this guy here. So this is the knife of the month. It's the Wright Next Gen in A2 full flat, and we've done a bunch of stuff with it this month. But lately I have been using bamboo for pins in different things. So I'll put a hole in something, whatever, and put it together using a bamboo pin. Once the pin is made, I either beat it in with my little mallet or just a stick, or you can put the side of your knife on it and holy crap, they're hollering like a damn idiot. Anyway, there's a bunch of ways of getting it in there, but what I do is I just take my material. This is pretty thick, pretty decent, and I will take my knife and, sorry it's out of frame, but take my knife and just put it down in there and go all the way out the bottom, and you're left with one little piece like this. So one piece of bamboo, and actually one sliver kind of like this, will give you a fair many pins, depending on how many that you need, you know, to do whatever. And this stuff's crazy hard. Like, it will take a knife that's not super tough and just destroy a blade if you're not careful. But after I split it, I go back and size it to my hole, depending on what size hole I put in stuff. And the good thing about this is, like, once you start processing, reducing material can get, how can I put it? You have to be careful or you'll mess up. You can take off a little bit too much, and if it's loose, it's not a good pin. So I remove a bunch with my blade itself until I can start to, here, let's do this so we have an example here. Hang on, I'm digging in my pocket. Calm down. Okay, so get my all out here. This will just be our example, so folks can better understand. So, there's our hole. I've already made my piece a little too small. At least starting, it's too small. But once I start getting up here to where it's going to fit, so in this area, I'll take my knife and just mark it so I know where it is. So this area here, from here to here, I can start removing material with just the spine. kind of like a card scraper. It does really good though, and it helps you to get a pin that's much tighter fit. So like if I'm gonna do, depending on the length that it needs to be, I will take and shorten this piece up. So just just cut some of the pin off. And this stuff, bamboo has a pretty cool look to it for pins. But once it's in here like this, you can take and suspend it over something like this, and you can drive it in. Depending on how thick your material is, you can drive it in until it actually mars up in one piece of material. Depending on what you're doing, one piece may need to move, may need to pivot. But bamboo, my boxer hollering at me. Bamboo has been a very handy material, partially because I can already get it roughly the size that I need, even if I am making just carving it into a hexagon really fast to get it close, and then just beating it into where it needs to go. And again, you can sit here and it's not hard to take your time and carve, as long as your knife's sharp, the correct size pin. But that 90-degree spine can really save you booty, especially on this stuff. Sometimes on softer stuff it doesn't like to process it quite as well. But it's a good way of doing it. And the reason that I kept it closer to a good working size than I did before. So let's say, I'll just show you with an example of one that's not processed. So this dude, if I am going to get this guy cut to size or shaped, and then I'm trying to beat it in, if I'm hitting out on this end, it is not as efficient as having it shorter and hitting this to drive it in. Like this is, just hear me out, this example, it's wobbly. You could break it right here before it's even in as far as it needs to go, when you can take and shorten it up and be a little bit more efficient when you're driving in the material. And when I was talking about driving in, I'm going to show you guys right here in my little beading area. So where I said suspend it, you can take and suspend it like this, so there is nothing underneath it, and it would let me drive that in to fix it better in that hole. Versus having a big long piece, of course. But yeah, guys, that's it. Bamboo pins have been the business here lately. They're tough, easy to work. Try them for yourself. Later.